News at 7 on NTA International. I'm Lami Ali. Let us begin with the headlines. Direct immediate release of all minors arrested in connection to recent protests. 7 new ministers inaugurated into President Tinubu's administration. Harris and Trump take closing campaign messages to voters. Now, President Bola Tinubu has directed the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice to facilitate the immediate release of the minors facing trial in connection to the recent protests in some northern states. Minister of Information and National Orientation Mohammed Idris, after meeting with the President, announced this to State House correspondents.
The President has directed that these children, these minors, be released immediately. This is, of course, without prejudice to whatever legal processes there are. Of course, if you look at this issue, there is the legal side of it, but there is also the human angle, the humanitarian side of it. Mr. President has directed that whatever the circumstances are, let the minors be released. They can, of course, continue whatever process there are, if indeed there are, as stipulated by our laws. But the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs has been charged, has been directed by the President to ensure that they have safe return and reunion to their family members. And like I said earlier, if there are any infractions being committed by any law enforcement officer or any official of government, a disciplinary action will be taken against such person.
Now, the 7 newly appointed ministers have been inaugurated into the renewed Hope administration. President Tinubu performed the ceremony in the council chambers of the State House this Monday. The new ministers are Idi Mukhtar Meha, Livestock Development; Bianca Udumegu Ojukwu, Minister of State Foreign Affairs; Suwaiba Said, Minister of State Education; Yusuf Abdullahi Atta, Minister of State Housing and Urban Development; Jumoke Oduole, Trade and Investment; Nentawe Ilwada, Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Reduction; and Muhammadu Megaridin Yadi, Labor and Employment. President Tinubu thanked the ministers for accepting to serve as his administration engages with the re-engineering of the economy. He encouraged them to be resolute and bring in their best for the benefit of the nation.
We are faced with a nation that's on the edge of bankruptcy. That is the truth. And you are called upon to join the team to rescue this country. Service is the hallmark of this human endeavor. Despite the challenges, we face jobs of re-engineering and retooling the economic part of this country. For us, it was a challenge when a nation was serving servicing its debt with 97% of its revenue. It's nothing but end of the clip. But today I can report to you that we brought that one down and it's at 60%. We have never defaulted in paying meeting our obligations. We meet all obligations, both foreign and domestic. I really appreciate the fact that you've taken the oath of office and ready to serve your nation.
By 2050, Africa will have 25% of the global population, with Nigeria as one of its largest democracies. In the light of this, the United Kingdom aims to strengthen bilateral ties to enhance UK-Africa relations. UK Secretary of State for Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Affairs, David Lammy, made this assertion during the signing of a memorandum of understanding with Nigeria's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Yusuf Tugar. Garba Natala also reports that the newly sworn-in Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, Bianca Ojukwu, was also welcomed at the ministry in Abuja.
Nigeria and the United Kingdom have long-standing history which deems it fit to enhance and reshape their bilateral ties, prompting the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding witnessed by management officials and journalists covering activities of the ministry. Earlier, the United Kingdom Secretary of State for Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Affairs, David Lammy, advocated for deeper ties in trade and economic partnerships. Being his first official visit to Africa, the Secretary of State described his visit as renewed commitment for a stronger strategy to elevate UK's engagement in Africa, while Yusuf Tugar acknowledged the partnership aimed to boost economic opportunities of both countries. Meanwhile, the management officials of the ministry warmly received the newly sworn Minister of State, Bianca Ojukwu, as she resumes office. In Abuja, Garba Muhammad Natala, NTA News.
The Court of Appeal has ordered the unfreezing of the former Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Samuel Walter Onogen's bank accounts in Standard Chartered Bank, Wuse, Abuja. This was after the court discharged and acquitted Onogen from the charges preferred against him in 2019 for not properly declaring his assets, leading to his removal from office and the freezing of his bank accounts. The consent judgment is the outcome of settlement terms reached by counsel to the federal government and the former CJN.
The superiority of courts over whims and caprices of occupiers of executive and judicial and legislature. Let it be known by the whole world that judiciary in Nigeria is one of the best in the world. We have men and women of character learning who have sacrificed their life from their early age to old age to become anything in judiciary, and yet people talk flippantly, they talk recklessly concerning these eminent Nigerians. If we don't respect our judiciary in Nigeria, the whole world will not respect judiciary in Nigeria.
The former Chief Justice of Nigeria had challenged his conviction and removal from office at the Court of Appeal. In the terms of settlements of the matter, it was unanimously agreed by parties that the Code of Conduct Tribunal was wrong in convicting Onogen without resort to the National Judicial Council as a body constitutionally empowered to discipline judicial officers in Nigeria. The terms of settlement was endorsed by Onogen, two of his lawyers, while the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Lateef Fagbemi Ezeyin, signed for the federal government. Donald Trump and Kamala, Donald Trump and Kamala Harris are pushing closing messages to voters on the last day of campaigning before America decides its next president. Both candidates are in a final sprint across key battleground states, with Harris to campaign in Pennsylvania Monday and Trump heading to North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Michigan. Harris and Trump are offering contrasting messages in their battle for the White House. On Sunday, Harris vowed to do everything in her power to end the war in Gaza, while Trump made claims without providing any evidence of election fraud in Pennsylvania. Outgoing Botswana President Mokgweetsi Masisi has handed over office to incoming President Duma Boko. Francis Udojo reports that Botswana's new government will have to hit the ground running after booting out a party in power for 6 decades on a tidal wave of supporters expecting change.
Boko's left-leaning Umbrella for Democratic Change, UDC, had excited the youth, and their message seemed to resonate with the poor and working, as he now takes over the mantle of leadership in Botswana. The group took 36 seats in the parliament, 5 more than needed for a majority, according to a tally finalized on Saturday. The Botswana Democratic Party, BDP, which had held a firm grip on power since independence from Britain in 1966, took only 6, its lowest score ever. It was a stunning rebuke that few had seen coming, let alone outgoing President Mokgweetsi Masisi, 63, who said when he conceded defeat on Friday that they got it wrong. In his acceptance speech, Boko, 54, said he wants to introduce a minimum wage of 400 pula, that is $300, and to stabilize relations with partners in the diamond industry while diversifying the economy of its independence on the international diamond market.
Senior members of the Public Service of the Republic of Botswana, thank you very much, Your Excellency, for your stewardship over the last 6.5 years.
Key concerns expressed by voters in the nation of 2.6 million people on Wednesday were Botswana's unemployment rate of around 27% and the large gap between the country's rich and its many poor. Francis Udojo, NTA News.
A multi-trillion naira Northeast Stabilization and Development Master Plan has been presented to the Lake Chad Basin Commission to tackle the complex issues affecting the region. Elizabeth Omorui reports that the comprehensive plan handed over by Mohamed Goni Al-Ghali, Chief Executive Officer of the Northeast Development Commission, aims to drive long-term economic growth in the region.
The Lake Chad region over the years has been grappling with numerous challenges from insecurity to climate change and economic development. Addressing these developmental issues informed this follow-up meeting to amplify the input of the master plan for implementation. The 10-year plan has 11 pillars covering agriculture, peace building, education, industrialization, and more.
There are going to be an operational team that will sit down and look at it critically, the master plan, and come up with an area where the two commissions can collaborate, and also bring out those areas that can be done immediately in the short term, long term, so that at the end of the day, we're all on the same lane, rather than doing it separately.
The document, drawn in 2022, has more than 500 programs and projects with 4 phases, which include recovery and stabilization, renewal, expansion, and sustainable growth.
The only limitation factor that we have, as usual, is funding. Otherwise, the plan is an excellent plan. It is an adaptive plan, and it is also in line with our regional stabilization strategy. You know, we developed that strategy in 2018.
If effectively implemented, it will accelerate regional growth, improve livelihoods, and strengthen regional security. Other issues raised at the meeting include shrinking water levels at the Lake Chad, rain patterns, and displacement, as well as implementation of the roadmap, which will form part of discourse at the 3rd International Forum on the Development of the Lake Chad region. From N'Djamena, Chad, Elizabeth Omori, NTA News.
A United Nations Nature Summit in Colombia has agreed on the creation of a fund to share the profits of digitally sequenced genetic data taken from animals and plants with the communities they come from. Francis Udojo reports that such data, much of it from species found in poor countries, is notably used in medicines and cosmetics that can enable their developers make billions.
The issue of digitally sequenced genetic data taken from animals and plants had been a bone of contention at the 16th Conference of Parties, COP16, to the UN's Convention on Biological Diversity, CBD, that opened in the Colombian city of Cali nearly 2 weeks ago. The previous summit, COP15 in Montreal, had agreed on the creation of a multilateral mechanism for sharing the benefits of digitally sequenced genetic information, abbreviated as DSI, including a global fund.
Actually, the target is 20 billion a year by 2025. So as one very good minister said this week, it's like saying that the bridge costs 500 million to restore and you give me 5 million. It's just not going to happen. So we need this money to flow from the global north to the global south.
But in Cali, negotiators argued for nearly 2 weeks over basic questions such as who pays, how much, into which fund, and to whom the money should go. After a last-minute compromise, member countries of the CBD agreed on the creation of a Cali fund for the equitable sharing of DSI benefits. The agreement determines that users who commercially benefit from DSI should contribute a proportion of their profits or revenue to the global fund. Those whose income exceeds a certain income threshold should contribute 1% of profits or 0.1% of revenue, the document determined. The non-binding agreement list targeted sectors including the producers of pharmaceuticals, food and health supplements, cosmetics, biotechnology, and agribusiness. Francis Dojo, NTA News.
This news is reaching you from the studios of NTA International in Abuja. We take a break now. More stories when we return. Do stay tuned. Thanks for staying tuned. Prime Minister Keir Starmer is to announce an extra £75 million to tackle people smuggling gangs. The cash boost takes funding for the UK's new Border Security Command to a total of £150 million for new tech hubs, as well as extra enforcement, intelligence and prosecution staff. Sir Keir Starmer called on global leaders at the Interpol General Assembly in Glasgow on the need to wake up to the severity of the challenge smuggling presents to border security. But former immigration chief Kevin Saunders said the changes would not deter illegal migrants from coming to the UK or stop small boat crossings. The Senate Committee on Solid Minerals says it will continue to engage key players in the mining sector to unravel the remote and immediate causes of Minefield collapse in Shiroro local government area of Niger State. Chairman of the committee, Ekong Samson, stated this as the government house Mina during a visit to the state. National Assembly correspondent Isa Mohammed reports.
The recent minefield collapse in Shiroro, during which workers lost their lives, was brought to the attention of the Senate through a motion from Senator Sani Musa, leading to a resolution to investigate the incidents. The committee expressed sympathy over the tragedy with an assurance to uncover the line of thought for appropriate action.
Accepts our sympathies. What happened was breathtaking. A number of lives were lost, and some issues were raised about mining safety in Nigeria, the safeguards being put in place. And as a Senate, we became even more determined to put in measure such safeguards that will prevent a reoccurrence.
Any mining exploration that will take place without adequate safety and health and hazardous standards in order to curb such incidents, any leader will be very, very interested to seeing that he holds that area carefully.
Niger State Governor Muhammad Umaru Bago says his administration insists on responsible mining practice for sustainable operations and well-being of the citizenry.
Artisanal mining has cost us a lot of lives. It has cost us lots of properties. It has encouraged a lot of banditry and insecurity. Companies, for instance, who would be given permission to do mining in communities will have to understand that there are post-mining effects These are some of the initiatives in the new law we are about to pass.
The committee reassured that its report will capture all concerns to ensure that mining activities in Nigeria are standardized and in the interest of host communities and the government. From Mina, Niger State, Issa Muhammad, NTA News.
The House of Representatives is to engage the new Minister of Education, Finance and Budget Office next week to prefer solutions to the recruitment process and exemption of universities from the IPPIS platform. Chairman House Committee on University Education Abubakar Hassan Fulata stated this during a rescheduled oversight of Ahmadu Bello University's area. National Assembly correspondent Muhammad Rabiu Ali reports.
The interface is called off, and the management of ABU are hereby summoned to appear before the committee at a date to be announced later.
The rescheduled visit to Ahmadu Bello University's area was as a result of the absence of Vice Chancellor and other top management when the committee visited the university in September this year. Some anomalies in internally generated revenue and budget utilization were identified by the committee.
Our interest is the expenditure itself. Now, in most of the cases, the amount generated are not expended, leaving huge balances which are not carried over.
When we are making our submissions to the Accountant General's office, we have to follow the format. That's the National Chart of Accounts. That's why we are reporting it like this. But we will report to this department in the Accountant General office so that this observation will be noted.
The problem is new IPs, sir. New IPs, not gifts, not yet on gifts.
We are meeting the ministers of education.
Thank you very much. So as at now, it's not possible to recruit. There are restrictions.
The same scenario played out at the federal universities in Dusema and Azare. The committee asked the management of Federal University of Health Sciences Azare to follow due process in recruitment and revenue spendings. For now, the committee has concluded this phase of oversight at all the federal universities, and it is expected to lay its report at plenary. Muhammad Rabiu Ali, NTA News.
The federal government has expressed commitment to supporting transboundary water governance and management among member countries in the Niger Basin Authority. Minister of Water Resources and Sanitation, Professor Joseph Utsef, gave the assurance at the opening ceremony of the sub-regional workshops and capacity building of transboundary ecosystem of the Mandara Plateau and Sena Aura Buba and Jeddah in Abuja. The regional workshop is an opportunity for all stakeholders to come together and promote initiatives aimed at enhancing sustainable management of the transboundary ecosystem of the Mount Mandara Plateau. Minister of Water Resources and Sanitation, who was represented, said the capacity building will help to set an agenda for water management and address challenges of Mandara Plateau in the sub-region, while commending development partners and implementing agencies for their support to the Niger Basin Authority. Professor Utsef assures Nigeria's commitments to support outcomes and solutions delivered.
It is very necessary that we bring us together to share common interests and, of course, boost our capacities as a joint platform so that we can work in unison, especially for the betterment of the ecosystem that we are jointly sharing. We are talking about our living experience in our various places. And then we are talking about the water usage. We are talking about the land resources that we have. And then the usage of these resources for our collective use.
We aim at is to operationalize this platform and reinforce the capacities.
We expect that at the end of the day, we should be able to come up with a reasonable resolution that will be beneficial to Nigerian part of the Mandara axis.
The three-day workshop seeks to strengthen the capacities of the regional platforms of the transboundary ecosystems of the Mount Mandara Plateau. Let's now join Bright Ebocho for the latest from the world of sports.
Nigerian table tennis player Kadri Aruna delivered an impressive performance, staging a thrilling 3-2 comeback against Japan's 5th seed Tomokazu Harimoto on the first day of the WTT Champions Frankfurt 2024. Despite starting strong, Aruna, who is ranked 21st in the world, lost the first 2 sets with scores of 7-11 and 11-13, which sparked hope for Harimoto to claim victory.
What this is giving us.
In other news, North Korea secured the FIFA Under-17 Women's World Cup title by defeating Spain 4-3 in a penalty shootout after a 1-0 draw in the final on Sunday. This victory marks their 3rd title, making them the most successful team in the tournament's history. In the UEFA Champions League, action resumes as AC Milan face Carlo Ancelotti's Real Madrid at the Santiago Bernabeu on Tuesday. Additionally, Liverpool will go up against Bayer Leverkusen. Sporting Lisbon will take on Manchester City, and Celtic will battle Leipzig. And lastly, in tennis, Germany's Alexander Zverev triumphed at the Paris Masters, winning decisively against local favorite Hugo Humbert with a score of 6-2, 6-2. The new world number 2, Zverev, 27, now has 7 ATP 1000 titles to his name, including 2 wins each in Rome and Madrid, along with triumphs in Montreal and Cincinnati. With Sports Update, Bright Ebochu, NTA News.
Next is Tuesday's weather for Nigeria and some other parts of the world. And that's the news at this time on NTA International. We thank you for being a part of it. Do have a good evening.